everyone, and welcome to today's show, the Beautifully Bruised and CPS show. I am your host, Latrika Jones. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I definitely have something that, I think that can be helpful for you. We all know that we just came off a weekend, right? You know, Listen, time go by so fast. I was just talking to the producer, Grace, and we was both sharing how fast time go by. And I'm sorry, I got an echo on my phone here, but okay, that's better. But yes, and I just wanted to, think back to this weekend. It just seemed like it was just 2 hours ago. I remember I was trying to rush and take a nap real fast because I had got up early this morning because this is the week after spring break. Okay. And I thought my son had to be back at school until I realized that the bus didn't show up. I was going to take him this morning anyway, but I'm like, wait a minute, that bus driver is always right on time. That's all I knew. And I'm like, if he's not, because certain people, you just know they're going to come through, right? No matter what, you might be running late or you might be a little off with your time, but listen, it is certain people, they are going to do what they've been assigned to do. So I knew that if he wasn't here, that wait a minute, they go back to school today, right? So that made me check the website as I was up preparing my son's lunch and trying to help him get ready. And I went on a website and it said, okay, school is not until tomorrow. Today is teachers and staff day. And I was like, oh my God, thank God. I mean, we woke up early. We was already up early. So I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and finish doing some things I need to do while I'm up. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes if I'm already up, it might be hard for me to go right back to sleep. And my son was up and I'm like, well, he's like, Mom, I'm up. I'm going to stay up. And I thought I was going to stay up too until that sleep kind of knocked on my door and said, you lost about an hour or two. And that sleep was letting me know it's time to get back in that bed and take a little snooze nap. So that's what I did until I got ready for the show this morning. And it's so funny. I was talking to Grace. And again, it's so many, like I say, it's certain people you can almost go by, like I told you about my son's bus driver. By him not being there this morning, I knew, wait a minute, because this, I'm telling you, this is a bus driver like from heaven. He gets off the bus, he come and meet you almost to help you with your child. I mean, it's just like something back from the 60s or the 70s, like on Little House in the Prairie. He's so consistent. And, you just know that God has given him this gift and you appreciate when you see things like this in people nowadays, right? Because the world we're living in, you don't always get those type of qualities and consistency. That's like even Grace this morning was like, we was talking about some information. She wanted to make sure I received it. And I'm like, you know what, girl, I know if you said you did it, it's good as done. Because I don't have to even look for it. Because I know when certain people tell you they're going to do something and they have a history of a record of making good on what they say and they're consistent, right? You normally don't even have to think about it anymore. So, oh God, I really do appreciate people like that. And I cannot say that enough because yes, anybody know me, sometimes I might be running a little late or I might get, sidetracked on something else I'm working on. But I thank God for consistency. I really, really do in people. To me, it helps make us better. So with that being said, without any further ado, anyone knows that when I start my show, I always give thanks to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, because without him, I would not be sitting in front of you today. I would not have the strength to go through my CPS cases. I would not have the strength to be able to encourage you, just to be in my right mind. Anybody know living in life, when life be life, and sometimes you do good just to wake up some days in your right mind. I'm being honest, you have so many tasks and things you're taking on, things you're trying to do, accomplishments you're trying to meet, goals, challenges, just everyday task. And sometimes it's easily said than done. Some days, I don't know if you'd be like me. If you really be honest, you'd be like, oh, okay, here's another day. God, I need strength. Because, some days are different, right? Every day, like I tell my son, every day it's not sunshine, but just try not to make it a storm. Because, life is what you make it, and it's all in how you see it. Even with CPS, all the things that they brought to me, that it was easy for me to have became sidetracked or to become so discouraged and so depressed where I don't even try to keep fighting for my kid. I could have just got so discouraged. And that's actually what the devil wants you to do. I don't know if you know that or not, but the devil wants you to get so discouraged. And even I think if you're dealing with CPS caseworkers that lack integrity, they also want you to give up too. They also want you to throw in the towel. They don't want you to feel like that you can make it. They don't want you to feel like that you can, make it through what you're going through. I know a lot of times people do give up. They just feel like they're so overwhelmed. They're so discouraged. You can even become depressed, dealing with anxiety. Life is real, and it happens to the best of us. I don't care what education you have, what background you have, what nationality you are, how much money you have in the bank. It doesn't matter. Life happens to the best of us. And I know for a fact from listening to all these different CPS cases and also being a victim to CPS myself years ago, CPS does not discriminate. They do not. I don't care if you live in a suburban. I don't care if you live in a mobile home. I don't care if you don't even have a home. They go after what they want. And when I tell you, they are like renegade to prove their narrative. So you have to fight, and have a made up mind that you're not going to fight until what? Your children are back home where they belong. So that's why I thank God for Attorney Vince to have a heart to bring on this type of platform that you can tune in 24/7, like, share, subscribe. Trust me, people go through CPS cases. Some don't know how to talk about what they're going through. One while I was the same way. Some people might feel ashamed. They might feel discouraged. But if anybody give any type of sign, any type of inkling that they might be going through something, just mention the show. Hey, there's a show, Beautifully Bruised and a CPS show. There are other shows on this platform that you might want to tune in, because you might, again, you never know what a person could be facing, right? And they just don't know how to say what they're going through. That's what this show is all about. That's why I'm here, to share my truth, to share what I've been through. And by the grace and mercy of God, I do not take for granted. God allowed me to come through CPS where my child was, again, returned back home. I survived everything they did to me with CPS, and I overcame everything what they did to me with CPS, where my child has been home with me for years now. But I do remember God telling me, this is not only for you. I want you to also be a witness to others that I'm the same God that brought you out. I can bring my other kids out as well. And it took discipline, y'all. I'm not going to lie. It took me starting out. I thought I could do it, on my own. I thought I didn't need an attorney that, because listen, I consider myself to have some type of common sense and knowledge, right? And I thought I could do it. I actually tried to do it starting out. And listen, them people, I think I remember CPS, some of their characters and their story was in the hallway laughing. Like, this girl have no idea what she is into. And I totally did not. But after that, I'm realizing, okay, I'm in over my head. I'm outside of my capacity. And I went after I realized I couldn't represent myself. Not saying that people don't win, but I'm telling you the chances from what I read statistics wise, they're very far and few. Even if so, I don't know what the numbers are now, but that was back in the day. Rare. And who wants to gamble and take a chance on their children, right? Are you going to say, well, I'm just going to take a chance and see if I'm gonna win by myself to get my kids back home so I can know and spend time and bond and see my children grow throughout the years, be there for them for their milestones, graduations, birthdays, Christmases, holidays, getting married. Who's going to take a chance on something so serious and sentimental values? Because when life is all said and done, right, really all you have left is memories. Why do you think people take pictures and videotape so many different things? Because even if you're not able to be around anymore, you're not able to do the things you once did, you can at least look back on the memories. And that when you have your kids, that's giving you a chance to create those memories, right? So with that being said, who really is going to be like, Yeah, I'm just going to take a chance and see if I can do this on my own, or hire a pro bono attorney that really don't know what they're doing. No, your children is your legacy. This is your hearts and souls, right? Whether it's your children or your family, your aunt, your nephew, your niece, your little cousins, whoever that is that's in this CPS broken, corrupt system, you're going to do normally with all within your means to help bring that child back home or children back home, right? That's how important that they are to you. So you're going to really go all out, most likely, and sacrifice. And I had to sacrifice. I kid you not. I lost many things, like I shared before on a show taping, almost like the story of Job. If you don't know who Job is, just open up your Holy Bible, and it's going to describe to you the stuff that Job went through. Job lost everything. He lost everything. And people, once he got so bad and he lost so much, they was like, won't you just curse God and die? Because there's no way he's hearing what you saying when you losing. I mean, he lost everything. He lost, his wife, his cattle, his kids. I mean, he had wealth, he had all these great things, right? And he lost it all. So, but guess what? He lost everything but his faith in God. But see, God knew he can trust Job. That's why he allowed the devil to tempt him like he did. He knew Job's heart. He knew Job was a ride or die. He knew he can count on Job. Because see, a lot of people, they can be watery. They not hot or cold, and they'll turn on you at the least given moment. But see, God knows our heart. He knows the heart of man. So he knew, even though the devil tempted Job with everything he had, guess what? Job still believed in God. And because of his belief and his faith and trust in God, God gave Job back everything that he lost. I want to say double for your trouble. Have you ever heard that saying? So that's how faithful God is. That's why I say this is just a test. Sometimes God may be just testing you to see, are you going to keep praising him? Are you going to keep believing him that he can be the same Heavenly Father that delivered Job out of everything he lost? He's the same Heavenly Father that's watching you as you go through losing your children through CPS, right? And hopefully you haven't lost them. But even if you have, even if they are in CPS custody, don't mean they got to remain in CPS custody. God can turn anything around. He turned mine around. Years ago, my child was in custody. They did not want to give my child back. They threw everything at me that they possibly could. Y'all, things that even make sense that they was asking me to do. They wanted me to do a $10,000 brain test because they felt like I couldn't comprehend well enough. And then one while they were, I passed on my psychological evaluation, which is hundreds of questions. And they said, well, maybe she's too smart. So it was like they was just throwing anything and everything they could at me to try to find something to hold against me. Nothing worked. When I tell you nothing worked, and I have enough sense, I've shared this before, if somebody is willing to invest $10,000 to buy a test to go against your individual brain, that is somebody that is sincere about trying to do something to take you down. Do you hear me? The devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And what is the narrative to my story? My child was returned back home years ago where he belonged. Okay. So, and I'm here now to be a testimony to show you the same God that did that for me is the same God that can do it for you. But I must go on to share this as well. As I realized I couldn't represent myself, because CPS is a whole nother world. It's not normal. I'm telling you, it is not normal. It's not what you think it is. Okay. I realized I couldn't do it by myself. I was outside my capacity. Right. After that, I did hire a pro bono attorney, and it was just as bad. I had my attorney that literally told me, well, worst case scenario, if your child isn't returned back home and when he's adopted out, at least you can go and visit him from time to time. And I was like, girl, bye. Listen, I had to put the ebonics on that. I'm like, girl, be for real. Okay. And I knew then, I immediately called other attorney that was qualified, that knew the CPS laws, that was aggressive, and that was willing to fight for me and my child until they were back home where they belong. So I say that to say this. I truly highly recommend hiring a wise counsel like attorney Vince. If you can get attorney Vince, I would tell you to call in and set up that consultation, let him know, share with him what you're dealing with your CPS case, what you're going through, and see how he can help you. And if you can't get attorney Vince, I would truly, honestly recommend you get the attorney that you can. I mean, like I said, an attorney that knows CPS laws, because guess what? All attorneys don't know CPS laws. Okay. Take it from me. I learned the hard way. All attorneys don't know CPS laws. Okay. They are just, get in with you, but they don't do the work. You want an attorney like attorney Vince that knows how to fight CPS, knows the strategies, knows the laws and everything. You want somebody that's effective. I just say it like that. I don't know how plainer to make. I don't know if plainer is a word or not, but it doesn't get any more plain than you want an attorney that is effective, okay, that's going to get your children back home where they belong. So I say all that to say, I know it's a sacrifice, but your kids are worth the sacrifice. It was for me, and I can assure you, once I brought in wise legal counsel, my attorney changed things around. She had discovery. She had things I had no idea, and CPS never told me what they were doing, which is wrong, right? Because again, a person don't know what you're doing. How can you fight something? And that's what they were using to go against me. But when I brought in someone that recognized the wrong they were doing legal wise, they had to step back. They could no longer play the game that they were doing and trying to keep my child like they shouldn't have been. And they had to return him back home. But it took my attorney to bring that to the judge. And when the judge saw that, the judge demanded that CPS return my child back. So I'm telling you, knowledge is power. Transparency transforms. With that being said today, God, like I said, even when I went through that, God, when I go through some of the greatest obstacles and fights in my life, the greatest challenges, that's when I do believe God is telling me you need to share your story. And with that being said, thank you, Grace, for sharing the title of my book, which is called The Journey from Heaviness to Healing. And this book is really for parents, and this has really been on my heart, that may be raising children that you might not really understand what they're going through. And why I say that, because I was once in those shoes. And I know, like I said, we're coming back from spring break. You might have spent time with your kids, through this week, and you begin to observe something that might be a little different that you hadn't seen before, or you couldn't really understand, but it's something, okay? A lot of times people think that their children are just bad or defiant. Now, listen. I'm not saying your kid's not bad. And please don't take that the wrong way or take it out of perspective. But we know our children, right? We know us. Our kids are normally a mini me of us, or the father, or vice versa, however. So yes, they might be a little bit more interesting in the way they act or behave. Or even with that being said, I just want you to know, though, it might be certain things along with that that's causing your children to be a little bit more, not easy to understand, or they might be a little bit more agitated, or you notice that they sensories may be different. They're sensitive to sounds and smells and colors, or they're very rigid, or very, a certain way things have to be. And when it's not that way, it completely throws them off, like they become unspiraled. And that's what I'm talking about, because a lot of times that can be autism. And if you're familiar with autism is not just one particular way a child can act. We are all uniquely made in God's creative image, right? We all are different in our own ways. So your child maybe not, if you notice that, I notice why he don't speak as much, or you might notice that, it's not easy for them to verbalize certain things, or their emotions, or something seem to easily make them feel sad, or they cry, or they feel like they're, when something is not right. Like my mom always taught me, she said, Trika, we know our bodies will tell us when something is wrong. And if you think about it, our children are a certain way. They will normally tell you in the best way they can, and it might not be verbalized. You might can just look in their eyes. And I can tell you, with the book I've written, like I just shared, the journey from heaviness to healing, that was the number one indicator that I noticed with my child, that it was something in his eyes. I just saw something different. And, your eyes are the way to your soul, right? Your eyes, normally you can tell looking at someone's eyes, maybe they've been crying, or you could just see a distress, or you could just Pray for not seeing nothing demonic or something that's, scary. But, you can, in a child, you can see something, or anybody, you can normally look at their eyes. My grandmother, who lived to be 106, she would always say, Trika, you can even tell by a person's eyes when they're beginning to age, whether it's, wrinkles or bags, if they lack sleep or they're tired, whatever the case may be, insomnia, the eyes are normally a reflection of something that's going on with that person in their soul and their body. It's a reflector, right? And so with that being said, that's when I could look at my son's eyes and I'm like, even though he's saying this, but his eyes is telling me something different. And like I say, if you're not aware of it, it's okay. I've had people to call me and say, what do you think about this? And I would tell them, go get them tested. They're even in the IEP program, which is a federal document, I found out that the school uses to assist these children that's dealing with autism, that's assisting these children that's dealing with ADHD or whatever, way they process differently that might cause them to need these type of services. They can provide these tests for you. And that's free with the state. The state the government provide these services. Once you get your child tested and it's saying, hey, my child may be on the autism spectrum, or they may have ADHD, your primary doctors going into the hospitals, they can do recommendations to get these tests for you. And when I tell you, once you find out that your child really may be dealing with something and you bring in the necessary resources, it makes a huge difference in your child's life. They might need speech therapy. They might need occupational therapy. And again, the schools provide these type of services. They'll bring an occupational therapist or a speech therapist while your child is in class, where they'll sit, come at a certain time in class, which is good for the child, just to provide these testing, to provide these services that they need to help them to speak better, to help them to understand or articulate or, verbalize what it is that they're trying to say. Now, anybody feel better when they're able to be understood, right? So again, these services are free, but as parents, we have to do the work when we notice our children that something seems different. Like I said, I noticed in my child, it was in his eyes. I could see something different in his eyes, and it seemed like he was in distress because he couldn't express clearly what it is he was dealing with. And then he became frustrated because I didn't understand. And it just, it was just a no-win situation. But once you go and the doctor say, yes, it seemed like he's on the spectrum. And again, being on the spectrum doesn't mean that they cannot be smart, because guess what? These children are highly gifted and talented. And like I shared in my book, that some, I think, if not all, are so gifted and talented, maybe it's something that we can catch up with them. I kid you not. My child, and I'm using a true story, that this once I got the services to help him understand, to help me understand him as a child, he began to be on the gifted and talented list. A lot of times in class, the reason why he wasn't being his best in academics because he wasn't being challenged enough. The teachers say when they started giving him assignments, he already done the assignments and within minutes, he wasn't being challenged. So therefore, when you're not being challenged, kids become bored and then they start acting out. So, it's a domino effect. It can lead to them being misbehaving, right? Because they've already done or accomplished what you're just now learning. They're not being challenged. That's us on a job. When you're no longer, you've done something, you've already done that, been there, done that. You want what's next. You don't want to stay stuck in the same area that you've already achieved, because you will become bored. You will become, a kid easily will become, well, let me find something else to do to keep my attention. And that's how the defiant behavior can come about. But I've told teachers that show interest. Thank God for teachers that do the work, that show concern, right? Because once I've shared with them, or he's in the IEP or the 504, they already know. It'll be a list to show you what this child's strengths and weaknesses are, and what things that teachers can work on to make them better in those areas. And if they see that your child testing is really great academic wise, they might throw in some extra assignments to see if he could just work it. And that's how one of his teachers shared with me. The math teacher said, hey, he passed that with flying colors. So I gave him even harder work to work on. He passed that too. And that's when they will recommend the gifted and talented and things of that nature. So again, do not think these children are slow. They are not. They just process differently. And I wrote this book to hopefully shed some light on parents, caregivers, even teachers, the educational system, to help you understand your students if you do not know. Because all teachers are not aware of some of the what children that has autism spectrum or ADHD, not that saying they don't want to know, but sometimes they really honestly don't know. And this is another tool or access or resource that I think will help you understand, even if it's a child that's you have a foster home, you have children that comes in from the system that may have special needs or may have disabilities or may be on the autism spectrum or may have ADHD. It will be a great read. It's a small read too. I didn't want nothing that's overwhelming. Oh, and I want to share with you as well, it's going to also be on audio coming very soon. I know in the world today it's at a fast pace, and sometimes you may not have time to read, even though it is a small read. You may not have time to read it, but it's a great way to read while you're doing something at the nail shop. For men, if you're just taking a break from work or whatever, you just want some downtime to relax, it's a great read. I think it's maybe 100 pages or less. It's nothing extensive. I want to keep it simple and to the point, and also affordable. It's also on Amazon, those that want to know where you can buy the copy. But yeah, it's a very small read, simple read, and but prayerfully, it's an effective read because it's based on my personal experience, a true story with my son, where he started out dealing with CPS, and CPS deemed him as not fit to be in society. CPS had placed him in a mental ward, without letting me know. They've done all these different horrible, horrific things. And the same kid that they found to be deemed as unfit for society is the same kid now that know how to program video games, that knows how to do PowerPoint presentations, that knows, it's another terminology. He knows it, I don't. But it's something where he knows, again, how to just can't think of the word that he uses, but it's coding. He knows how to code, he knows how to write, things of that nature. So again, the devil is a liar. What the devil meant for evil, I am a living testimony that God can use whatever he wants to use and turn it around for the good. So I can assure you, do not put a period where there should be a comma. Why? Because God could just be testing you to see, can you trust him to bring you out of what you're going through, of what your family may be going through. Okay. Like he tested Job, like he tested me. I could have easily gave up because it's so overwhelming going through CPS. It's so, it's so unpredictable. You don't know what to expect from one hearing to the next. It can change at the drop of a moment. You can get a text, you can get a phone call, an email. It's a very, very uncertain time. But I am here to encourage you, to tell you that God can see you through it. There is nothing too hard for God that he cannot do. So again, that's what led me to write these stories. I think God cares about us so much. He will allow people like myself to go through the fire and have a set of eyes to see what it's like, so people can know, so I can know personally what it's like. It's nothing like a personal experience. I could be sitting here all day and talking to you and never been through CPS, but I tell you one thing, somebody that have been in those courtrooms for over a year or longer and have witnessed a child being wrongfully taken away, where their rights were wrongfully violated, where, getting threats and all kind of things as far as giving up on your child or trying to take your child away. I have a whole new set of eyes. I know what that fire is like. I know what that pain is like. I know what that shame is like. I know what that humiliation is like. And again, I thank God for trusting me enough to be able to take me through the fire, to witness what that pain is like for people like you. So you can know from my heart that I know personally when I get phone calls and when I talk to people and when I feel your heart and I hear those see those tears and I feel those tears, it's a whole new set of eyes. When you have walked through that same fire that people are going through. People will listen to you. They begin to understand you. And, they know that they're not alone. Why? Because you went through it just like they're going through it, or what they may be facing now. So it's, to me, it's more effective. It truly is. And then somebody know you've been through it. Raising a child that's artistic, raising a child that's on the autism spectrum, raising a child with a nerve disorder, raising a child that has seizures, raising a child that has ADHD, raising a child that society don't really understand and quick to cast judgment upon versus doing the work, trying to understand that child. This is why I wrote the book that you see up in the top corner, The Journey from Heaviness to Healing, because it allows you to go into that area of what it's like, what it feels like, what a child looks like, how they respond to certain things. So you could be more aware that maybe my child may be dealing with this also. Or maybe I know a child that could be going through this, and share the book with that family, with that parent, with their caregiver, with that teacher even. I even want to go on, even like I say, a foster parent. If you have children coming in and out of your foster home, it helps you to understand that child, so they're not misread, so they're not misunderstood. Because I do know with these children, they're very sensitive, and they can tell the ones that are maybe not understanding them and the ones that are. And from what I've seen through experience, even up till today, when my child feel a teacher or a caregiver or whomever is taking the initiative to try to understand versus trying to paint them as being bad and uproot them from that atmosphere, they don't respond well to them, because they feel like you don't understand them. So normally they will revert back from you, and they won't listen to you, or they won't engage with what you have to say, because they are so sensitive. That's why they can easily detect when something is out of order, when a smell is about a different smell, a different feel, a different texture, a different color. They are gifted in those areas and in those sensories in those areas. And trust me, if they can detect those type of things, they can detect a different behavior or spirit of a person who's not in it or don't understand them, and they're going to be misjudged. And before they be misjudged and be misunderstood by you, they're so smart where they will revert back from you and they will shut down. Okay, so that's why I think it's so important that people understand who these children are. They're highly intelligent. One of my favorite shows is The Good Doctor. Okay, he is a doctor that has autism, right? But you know what? Some of the best episodes are when some of these highly skilled, highly intelligent doctors that are not able to figure out what diagnosis or what a person may be going through in the hospital room. Guess who they have to go to figure out what needs to be done? It's Dr. Murphy on Good Doctor, the doctor that has autism. He is able to, some kind of way, gosh, like I tell you, they're gifted and talented. He is normally able to figure out what's needed to treat and heal these patients so they can get well again. Listen, this is the same doctor that has autism that can figure out what these sick patients needs, where these other doctors, which they're smart as well, but they cannot figure out what this one particular thing is. And that's why they go to them. That go to Dr. Murphy. So that's why I say don't judge them, because they are very highly intelligent and smart. They just process differently. And it's very important to understand how they process, okay? Because again, they are, to me, a blessing in disguise. And I'm telling you, because at first I just thought my child was like, why does he keep doing this? Why does he just, revert back to not understanding or freezes up? That's another sign that I noticed with my child. When he would freeze up, he kind of become rigid. And I'm like, why is he doing this? But that was a sign that once I got my son tested, it showed that he was on the autism spectrum. And again, that can look like anything. That's a broad spectrum, right? It can range from your child can talk too much, a lot, nothing is wrong with speech, right? Or to a child that's not that has very minimum communication. Okay, so that's why it's so important to go get your child tested, to see where, if he has or she has the autism, to see where they are on the spectrum, because it varies. Okay. So again, knowledge is power. Transparency transforms. So the more we know, the better it is. And I also realize with CPS, a lot of these children that are going into CPS, or that are, to me, statistics seem like it shows that they're higher targeted is children that deals with maybe disabilities or special needs of the parents, and they feel like maybe the parents are not don't have the necessary necessities, such as the resources or the education to fight CPS. So they're the ones that's normally targeted, and those are the ones that sadly it seems like they easily go after. And with that being said, but like I just said, just because you deal with a disability or some type of infirmity does not mean you can't comprehend. It just maybe need to be processed differently for you to understand. So keep that in mind as well. That's another reason why I wanted to share my book on here, because again, a lot of CPS cases do the number statistic wise, and don't hold me to that as of today, but normally those, I've noticed, even being in a minority, when I was sitting in a lot of those court hearings, y'all, throughout the year, when I went through my CPS case years ago, a lot of those people in those courtrooms were minorities. They were, I saw that. A lot of people were, they lacked education, they lacked resources. And that's, again, why I do believe that they target, these type of people, because they feel like they're disabled, they lack resources and education. So again, if you are equipped, you have the necessary tools, like my book, thank God, Grace got right up here in the corner, The Journey from Heaviness to Healing. It helps you to understand your children, or it can be a grown-up. It could be a grown-up that, may be dealing with some type of, they process differently, or on autism, because you could be a grown-up dealing, being autistic, right? Or have autism. Like the doctor shared with me, it's nothing that you ever get rid of. It's just you learn how to live with it. And normally as you get older and more mature, you're not like a child, so you're more disciplined, and you know how to handle it better. It may be certain foods that's triggering why a child or someone may act differently, something that's in the food, right? So what you do is you learn as you get older to, even as a kid, certain things not to eat, and as a grown-up you can't eat it because it can trigger some certain things in you, right? So again, you're learning how to live with what you deal with, because again, like a professional doctor told me this past week, that you don't get rid of it, you just learn how to deal with it. But I'm gonna tell you something, I'm a believer, strong believer in God. I'm just saying, God can do the unthinkable. You might look up one day and you might not have it. I'm just saying, that's just my faith in God. I think He can do anything. There is nothing too hard for God, and I truly believe that with my whole heart. But I do know that knowledge is power, and I do know that God has doctors in positions for a reason. God has attorneys, like attorney Vince, they're in position for a reason. Why? Because they went to school, they got the education, they got the knowledge, they got the experience to be able to prove who they are and what they can do and help us, right? So I listen. I do believe that sometimes you have to listen. You have to sometimes just be quiet and take in what you're being told, especially from someone that knows it, and you may not know that particular type of information. Okay, so yes. So with that being said, I want to come on here on this Monday motivation. Okay, hopefully it can motivate you and inspire you, to even just, like I say, just look into certain things, because you never know that there might be some resources available for you that can help you and your kids, right? So don't take nothing for granted. If help is available, utilize that help. Like even this platform, this show, the Beautifully Bruised and CPS show, you can log on here anytime, 24/7. And like I said, whether you listen to me or I bring on a guest that can share something that can help you. Attorney Vince has this show. This is a wise legal counsel that's giving you lots of great knowledge, tools and gems, right? Nuggets that you can use to help your case just by listening, just by tuning in. So again, don't never give up on fighting for your children. They are worth the way. They are worth you going through the process. Again, I went through the process and I made it out the process. And I'm on here to encourage you because you can make it out as well, as long as you do the work. As long I recommend you get a wise legal counsel that like attorney Vince, or if you can't get attorney Vince, someone that knows CPS laws, that's aggressive and knows how to do the work to fight for you, for your child to come back home, where our children to come back home where they belong. Okay. So don't never give up. Keep God first. Do not put a period where there should be a comma. Why? Because God is not done writing your story. You know what? Sometimes you just never know how God is going to turn this thing around for you right in the nick of time. So don't never give up. If you have any questions, please share in the comments. If you want to be a guest on one of the shows, please just call in and say, hey, I got a story. I'm going through this. I don't know what should I do? Call in, share what you're going through, because counselors will tell you the best therapy sometimes is just getting it out, releasing what's in you. That'll kind of help you to unclear all the distractions to make you be better, right? It's nothing wrong with sharing your story. I shared my story when I first came out with attorney Vince, and it's a release. It makes you feel better getting it off your chest and sharing it with people that care. This platform was created because we care and we know what it's like personally going through CPS. So again, I want to say, don't you ever give up fighting for your kids. Do the work. Keep God first. Like, share, subscribe, tag. If you need some encouragement on how I came through CPS, what it's like raising a child dealing with special needs, ADHD, autism spectrum, a nerve disorder, seizures, I got my testimony that I'm sharing on my book that's in the top corner, that corner. the journey from heaviness to healing. Okay, hopefully that inspire you and encourage you that if God brought me out, he's the same God that can bring you out as well. So don't never give up fighting for your children. Keep God first and enjoy your week, and until the next show, stay encouraged and keep God first. God bless you.